This week on the Mothership Podcast.
No, it's very clinical. Like, it's a very clinical space. Like,
I prefer to work out at home if I do it.
Yeah, or like, yeah, same. Like home or like out in nature. You know, naked. I'm like, who the fuck? Where did these people evolve from? Because the Browns came first. So where are the brown people?
Going forward in our villain era.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've been in my villain era for a while now because I don't much to know shit no more. Oh, well, they're not black in the books, and it's like, okay, fair, but at the same time,
if y'all can convince yourself Jesus was white, you can have a black elf. All right, that's how I look at it.
Now because I don't think I've ever been on the camera, I'm a white man. And the other three...
Wait, you're white? Hello, Earthlings. Welcome back to episode something or other. As you can see, you know, we decided to get in the same outfits again as last episode. You know,
fresh faced and everything.
Yeah, exactly. This is a totally different day. It's a totally different year. But yeah. So yeah, we are here today. I mean, that's the thing. Usually we do talk about just like whatever beforehand, but we kind of already did that in the other episode. Like, there ain't very much. I mean, it's still 2023. It's probably still shit.
We'll see how things go, and then we might edit something in.
But yeah, I guess one thing we didn't talk about in the last episode is like what are we going to do with this podcast moving forward, like.
All the things.
Yeah. I think one thing we've spoken about a lot is Patreon. Like,
yes.
We've just kind of been like casually coming up with ideas for things we could do for that.
But I definitely think we can do some stuff with that. So anything towards like gaming.
Yeah.
Maybe even something to do with our shows as well. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because like we should, like, there's always funny stuff going on when like we are behind the scenes at shows and stuff. So we'll just have to get in the habit of like filming more stuff.
Well, I need to because I'm so bad with drag admin in terms of like posting to social media.
Oh yeah.
Because I can't be arsed. It takes up too much damn time.
I just like I always forget to take pictures like myself. It's always helpful when there's like a friend there or a photographer like to take a picture because I will just do the show, get out of drag, be in my pajamas and be like, oh fuck. I didn't take no picture and I looked great. I'm like, why didn't I take a picture? And the times I do remember I look like shit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Same.
So I think we're just going to be a bit more consistent. We're always going to film like 1 or 2 episodes every 2 weeks. And then if we only film one, we're going to start filming things like video games and maybe even like, I mean, viewings we'll have to like look into and see like how, I mean, we'll probably get away with that on like Patreon.
Yes.
Maybe for the few of you that might comment, let us know if there are any games or anything out there that you think would be entertaining to watch us play. I mean, anything competitive or scary will probably make good content.
Yep.
Because either we'll go to head or I'll scream and you'll just be laughing. It will be like Bob and Peppermint when
have you played Dead Space?
Yes. I mean, do you mean like completed it? Actually, no. Oh no, I did complete it. I completed the first Dead Space. Okay. I have. Yes, I have. I played that with a friend, and we just would swap when someone would die, which for me was very.
I miss doing that.
Yeah, innit?
Like playing a single player game, but in tandem with someone else.
Yeah.
And you just take over when someone else dies.
Maybe we should do that for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what are there any new horror games? I mean, there's probably some classic ones that we could play.
There are quite a few at the moment.
Good ones.
I don't follow them as much, but I know there are some that are considered quite good.
I can think of quite a lot we can play.
Okay.
Yeah, should be fun.
Once again, say hi to Will, everybody.
Oh, hi. It's a new episode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, New episode, but old glass.
I'll do it. Give me the
Oh,
glass.
thanks. Right, so we'll carry on talking though.
Yes.
So what were we talking about? Oh, fucking hell.
We're just doing like what we plan to do with the podcasts and future things, and
maybe it's like, it would be cool to at some point to do like a Mothership live show.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know how that we'd have to have a chat about like how we would want to do that, but I think we would come up with some cool ideas.
That is definitely something we can get to at some point.
100%. But yeah, I think we're just
especially like going forward in our villain era.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've been in my villain era for a while now because I don't like to take no shit no more. I just need to get a bit more forceful with directing the villainy into just not cussing.
Yeah, because she will chase you on the street. She will fully chase you on the street. I need that energy. That's the era I'm entering into.
Hey, mate.
Yeah. In it.
Well, actually, some of them might watch it, so maybe they'll realise.
Let's be honest, they've probably still not paid us by now. When this episode comes out, they've probably still not paid. Anyway, y'all, performers on the Brighton scene, y'all know what the fuck we're talking about. But anyway, so today's... But I mean, they will.
Well,
but today's topic, I don't know what we're going to call it.
I think we'll think of a title, but essentially the gist of it.
The nerds, the blacks, and the... No. I was trying to do like a girls, gays and days, like... But it doesn't... I can't.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work. Oh, thank you so much.
Essentially, it's going to be talking about viewing content as a black person and not as a black person, but seeing black and POC people in media and what that means to us, especially within the nerd sphere as well.
Because like it's kind of weird. I always feel like, and I don't know if you've had a similar experience. I always feel like people are surprised like into how like nerdy I am because I'm black.
Oh yeah.
Like, do you get what I mean? Like,
it used to be a bigger thing like years back.
Yeah.
Like school when like you said, oh, like you like anime or anything that was like slightly.
Girl, the bullying
nerdy.
I went through for like proudly being a Star Trek fan, even a Star Wars fan.
And now half of those people watch it as well.
Yeah, like, and it was when the Chris Pine, the 2009 J.J. Abrams, J.J. Poo Poo Abrams, did the Star Trek 2009 film, and then people was like, oh yeah, I remember having this conversation. Oh, I think I said it on the previous episode, like having a conversation with this girl, and I got so excited because I was like, oh my god, you like Star Trek? Yes, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, talking about all this stuff, and then she was like, I just really like Chris Pine. And I'm like, you can actually get fucked. Like, you can fuck up. You're taking a piss out of me. Like, fucking, I just really like Chris Pine.
No.
Nah, stop it.
But it's like, even with like the Marvel stuff as well. Like,
oh, yeah, none of that shit was cool back in the day. No one knew who the fuck the Avengers were. Like...
Oh, what, you collect comics? Ew. Like, the fact that it was still used as a negative trope within... what's the show? Big Bang Theory.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're all comic book nerds, and it's like, but half the people that now watch the show are either have been comic book nerds their whole life or are new comic book nerds because of the expansion of all these TV shows and films and stuff. And it's like, well, as much as I like the fact that people are now starting to actually understand where we've been coming from.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's still a point of like, oh, it's just the films, or it's...
Oh, tell me about it, yeah.
And it's like, they say, well, that didn't happen, that ain't the full canon, first of all. Shut your mouth.
Yeah. Because that's usually my experience when I get in a Star Wars conversation with someone, and then I start, like, all of my favourite parts of Star Wars are, like, not in the main things at all. Like, so people look at me like I'm talking... in a foreign language, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Who's Ahsoka Tano? And I'm like, ah!
But first of all, if they don't know, they need to get to know.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. So, but I always feel like people are always so surprised. Not just surprised, like what kind of stuff we're into.
Yeah.
Because we're black. Because the queerness, I feel like nerd culture within the queer community is like
it's definitely a bit
very
more accepted
normalized
because again, it's that whole thing of escapism.
Yeah.
I mean, we did kind of briefly touch on this in a previous episode, but it's the escapism of wanting to view a different world. I mean, it's not the case for everyone within the queer space, because you have people that have absolutely no interest in it at all, which
y'all are missing out.
But then it's like they find other ways to deal with that.
Yeah.
So like they'll like binge watch some other show, or you find that we tend to like go into these spaces. So like some people, it's the gym is their way of feeling escapism, because it's like
Can't relate.
Me on a treadmill.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can work out in a gym. I don't really find the gym like an inspiring environment.
No,
like, it's very clinical. Like, it's a very clinical space. Like
I prefer to work out at home if I do anything.
Yeah, or like same, like home or like out in nature. You know, naked. But yeah, like especially just for me, whenever I've gone into like the depth of like how much I like, you know, how deeply I can talk about like Star Trek, Star Wars, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling's a transphobe, you know, any of like the big fandoms that I'm like into, Game of Thrones, like anything like that. Like I don't know. Maybe they just expect us all to eat chicken and watch basketball. Honestly.
Well, some people do.
You're looking at me. I'm a vegan.
No. No, but what I mean is, okay, so I'll bring it back to something that happened.
Oh, yeah. So we started having this conversation off camera on our way here, and then we were like, let's stop and have this conversation on camera. So go on.
So it's just gone Christmas. That can be a tough time for queer people in general. But as black queer people, especially if you're in an interracial relationship, Jesus.
Which the reason we said we was going to wait until we got onto camera is because when Mel started telling me this story, it's so similar to like something I went through like a couple years ago. But yeah, you tell the story, and yeah, we'll discuss.
So it started out with me explaining to Sam, my partner, who is white, that I have a very odd kind of thing about going back to their families for Christmas, because I don't want to seem like any particular kind of way other than just me. But I know that doesn't always go that way for people when they visit their other half's family. In any space, but specifically when it's a relationship where it's different cultures, different religions, different genders, or the same gender relationships, anything kind of where there's a point of difference to the rest of the family.
A totally different perspective on life.
Yeah.
You know.
And Sam was like, okay, I kind of understand that, but you don't have anything to worry about. His family are lovely. In regards to someone else I know, they did not have the same experience. They actually had quite a bad
Also,
one.
just really quick, even though I'm glad, and obviously I know Sam, so like, you know, I'm sure his family is lovely. So because I've also expressed to people before, I'll be like, oh, I'm scared of going into the situation. Then I'll go, and if it's a white person and they go, oh, don't worry, you'll be fine. You don't know. Like, you don't know if I'm going to be fine, because you're going it based on your experience as a white person. And you're going, oh, yeah, but I'm sure they're not. It's like, you don't know. Like, you don't know until you're there. But yeah, carry on.
So this person I know, they had the opposite experience of what I had, where the family were making very, very questionable and all-the-phobic and ist statements possible, to where this person felt very uncomfortable, and it's made their Christmas quite horrible experience, even though they didn't actually want to go there.
Yeah. And that's even worse because you told yourself like, oh, I didn't want to go, and then you're like, and this is exactly why I didn't want to go, and now it's happened, and I could have prevented it.
Like, it's happened to me as well, where like I haven't really met other partners' families that much, but there's been cases where it's like there's little comments here and there, and it's like even on sides of family that are within, like, adjacent to my family, it's like family friends and stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard comments and like they don't particularly know much in the way of things. That's why I stay down where I am.
Yeah.
But it's you hear these things and you're like, surely not.
Yeah.
Surely not. But then it happens and you're
Yeah. Well, because that what happened to your friend pretty much like.
Would you want to say your bit?
Yeah. So like a couple of years ago, I was in a relationship for like 3 years, and we lived together, and we actually lived quite close to his family, so there was like quite a lot of interaction, and both his family and friendship group were like, you know, racist, homophobic as well, like all of the above.
Which again, I don't understand, because like, at the end of it, that's
because my ex could pass. I always say that, like, so like, I guess this does relate quite heavily to the topic.
Actually,
like,
that's a funny thing. That same person,
yeah, like
similar situation.
like I don't know about you, but there was a point in my life where maybe I could pass. Like, there were definitely times in my life, like when I've gone to other countries, where I've made sure I could pass. But like at the 9.5 times out of 10. I'm not gonna, like, people know I'm queer when I'm walking like down the street, like they know, like, and you know, I'm not always walking like this or whatever, like, you know, sometimes I'm just wearing very basic shit, but there's just something about the sway in my hips that they just know, bitch, that's a fag walking towards you, like, so yeah, like so even though they had, like, he was out, and like obviously you would think, oh, well, if they're friends and family, they wouldn't be homophobic, but like, you know, I was a whole new type of fish walking into that room. Like, I was queer, like, walking in. So yeah, I spent at least one full Christmas with them. I think I spent 2. I think I actually did do 2 years in a row.
Oh, you
with
poor
it.
soul.
Yeah, and I went to a wedding and a funeral, and at both the wedding and the funeral, but the wedding was worse. Like, so I won't go into all the, like, the details of, like, all the specific words. So let's just say all the words you're thinking of and all the kind of phrases you're thinking of, they said them. Like, and not just about black people, like other races as well. They used to use the P word quite a lot as well. And I'll leave you with this image. When we were leaving the wedding, there was no room in the car.
Oh no! So
I had to lie in the boot. I am in the boot, and so my at the time, my partner's sister's partner, so sister's boyfriend, came up to me, coked off his head, and was like chatting all this stuff, like, you know, like when someone says a load of racist and homophobic stuff, but they think they're being nice.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know, usually, like, it wasn't this, but it'd be like, usually I kill faggots. I see faggots and I kill them. Today I just slapped one on the face. Like, it was like that kind of shit.
Thing is, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Usually I wear a KKK cloak. Today I just wore a MAGA hat. Like, it's kind of like he was saying a lot of those things, and also he was coked off his head, and he was very much like laddie straight man. He was saying like all of this, like, you know, sometimes, you know, now I wouldn't because I'm not single, but when I was single, you know, when you're with the lads and you're all coked out, you know, sometimes a little bit of help and all that, saying all that shit, but then he would go and say some homophobic stuff, and then saying all of this stuff that he loves about black people, but then saying the N-word and going like da-da-da, and all of this. So all of the family was aware of this. So we're in the car, and like, almost said names there. We're in the car, I'm lying in the boot, and they are talking about the situation, saying all the words he said, and then and then consequently having a discussion about all those different words and why some of them are okay and all of this. I am lying in the boot like this, after just having a horrible time, like a horrible ass time. And also all the people in the wedding were like staring at me the whole time and all of that. It was a horrible ass time. And yeah, even though there was a lot of other things that led to the end of that relationship, that played such a huge part because that presence from his family and friends was present from the beginning. From the beginning. Like, there was this whole incident of his friends calling me the N-word, like, literally in the first couple of months of us dating. And, so...
And considering we're, like, definitely two of the people that we don't like that word in any content.
No.
When anyone uses it.
No. I would say, like, I would usually say it to make a point, like, if I'm quoting something. There is one...
we have said it.
There is one joke that uses the word that well, it's not even a joke, it's a bit, it's when,
it is a bit, yeah.
For those who, if you follow, like, Bob the Drag Queen, yeah, they talk about Gigi Goode doing black hair, which I'm sure any Drag Race fans are aware of, that she did, like, most of Simone's wigs and all of this. And it's this whole thing of, like, Bob being like, how did this white girl from blah, 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 blah learn how to do all this black hair? And the name of... Bob has this joke name for Gigi's Good... Yeah, so that's the... I think us two share this, like, we love that, yeah. But other than that, like, it's just not a word that, like, I really fucks with.
No.
Like, and obviously, like, I do a lot of, like, R&B, hip-hop music, like, I feel like if I was to use that word in my music, I don't really think anyone would really bat an eye.
No,
like, I don't really think...
That's the weird part as well.
Yeah.
So, like, loads of people, when I've said, like, working in hospitality and stuff, and the radio would be in the kitchen and stuff, which, actually, I'm going to get onto that bit in a bit, because it happened there. I'd be like, can we not play so much of that?
Yeah.
Just because I know what people are like. And it happened 3 times.
And someone will do it,
3 times.
Yeah.
And you know what the reaction I got one time was? But they said it in the song. And I'm like, I don't care if Jesus said it.
Yeah, innit?
You ain't saying it around me.
And also,
And it was the way they said it with chess.
Yeah.
As if,
like, they was waiting for that word to come. They was like, oh, here it comes, here's my
like,
bit. Yeah.
It's like when Fairy Tale of New York comes on at Christmas, and then instantly you will just see all the queer people.
You cheap, lousy faggot.
Yeah.
Like,
It just suddenly, that one line out of the whole song gets resonated, even though they changed it like 3 weeks after it was originally released. Yet the one that gets played everywhere is still the original version.
Really? I didn't even know there was another version.
Yeah, they changed it almost immediately, but the one that still gets played almost everywhere is the original F-bomb.
Yeah. Well, fucking faggots. But, like, yeah. So, like, I think, one of the main things of being, like, black queer nerds is, dealing with the stereotypes in general that, like, and then people are always shocked.
Yeah.
That,
Well, like, I'm sure you can attest to this. Whenever there was a black person in a video game.
Oh, yeah. And you play it, literally.
Like, even though it was, like, usually they were black and they were a boxer, if they were male, or black and it was either one of 2 hairstyles, afro, or cane rose, or actually no, 3, white hair. And as much as I love Storm, that is the one. There's a few little tropes about that. But that was like the one thing, and it's like people are now getting angry because they're starting to see more black characters in fantasy and sci-fi,
which is it's so irritating because it's like, I'm a nerd because my mum's a nerd, and my mum was born. Let me not. My mum will kill me. But like, my mum is not 20. So, she has been around a while, and she and her and, people were nerds before her and stuff like that. So it's just like, there have always been people of colour that are into science fiction and fantasy. I mean, escapism. And it's just, I mean, there is actually a massive black community in Star Trek, because I personally know.
Stemming from that, actually, just saying the continuation of things, the reason there is such a huge black community within Star Trek is because of Uhura.
Yeah.
And
Guinan.
Well, no, Whoopi. There's this beautiful.
Oh yeah, Whoopi joins because of Uhura. Yeah,
and being like, I want to be that.
And
for
also,
another generation.
Do you know it was Martin Luther King that convinced the actress who played Uhura not to
May
leave?
she rest in peace.
Yeah, for real. A lot of Star Trek actors died last year. You know, 35 Star Trek actors died last year.
35.
35, including Kai Wynn. What an iconic villain. As I enter my villain era, I aspire. Actually, no, maybe not, because she a bit nuts. Fantastically acted, my God. God, Deep Space Nine.
But, the fact that one person in a very nerdy, predominantly white space then inspired hundreds and thousands of especially black women as well to be into science and other forms of nerd culture because of one person in a TV show. And then,
also, when we're not in certain stuff, it doesn't make sense. You know, I know even in fantasy, it's a fantasy world, so the evolution could be fantasy as well. But when I be seeing white people all up in fantasy shows and we're not there, I'm like, who the fuck? Where did these people evolve from? Because the Browns came first. So where are the brown people? You know, I was very happy to watch House of the Dragon this year and see not just a
but
whole
they also did it in a way that explains the absence of it in the previous show.
Yeah, which and even though,
without spoiling anything, there's a reason there's not many black people of that ilk.
And even though I wasn't a big fan of the show in the end, I was so happy with the representation in Rings of Power. However, the show. Wait, so actually, do you like the show?
Parts of it were alright.
Right. But you don't, but we both don't like the portrayal of Galadriel.
Our favourite, literally, one of my favourite characters, in fact, my favourite character from...
Cut to the pussy candle.
But I don't know how they actually made me almost hate every time she was on screen. It started out alright, and I was like, okay, this, and then every time he was on, it was like, ugh.
And also...
Can we cut to anyone else?
Yeah, and also... I hope that anyone who's a Lord of the Rings fan, i.e. Will, does not come for me right now. I think Rings of Power was trying too much to be like Game of Thrones. Because
a little bit.
From the first episode, it's showing you about 8 different stories. Whereas Game of Thrones...
Sam said this as well. So
Game of Thrones...
Why can't you just show the one...
took its time. You really spend the first episode in Winterfell. You don't really go anywhere. You don't go anywhere outside of the north.
Spend the first...
The characters come to the north. And then you obviously have Daenerys, and that's going on. And then it slowly starts to branch out.
And then as all these characters start building up, it's natural that you have to then
follow them.
About.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas Rings of Power, just straight away, it's we're in the Shire. Oh, we're in this. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're in this. And it's just bloody hell. This is a lot. And also, it did not look great. I was I don't know where y'all spent this $1 billion, but it wasn't in the costuming, or the colour grade, or the fucking cinematography half the time, to be honest, because it was a bit too much.
I mean, yeah, there were parts of it I liked. There were parts of it I definitely didn't. I mean, the one thing that really griped me was the out-and-out defense of the book material over the new portrayal of some characters.
Right.
Obviously, the black ones. And bearing in mind, we still haven't had Asian characters, which, again, the least represented demographic in media. Again, if you have one black person, you get one Asian person, usually about 3 seasons later. And then either one of them got to go, or they do next to nothing the whole show. But the fact that there's no Asian representation in it is ridiculous as well. but there was such a big defense because, oh, well, they're not black in the books. And it's like, okay, fair. But at the same time...
If y'all can convince yourself Jesus was white, you can have a black elf. All right? That's how I look at it. Mm-hmm. Y'all have... there is a worldwide delusion on so many things. Y'all can handle a black elf. Okay?
And, like, it means a lot for people like us who didn't have those as options.
Oh, I got so emotional watching the trailer when I saw... I can't remember the character's name, but when he pulls...
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, I'm seeing a black elf, like, hold up. Like, that was my dream.
Yeah.
Like, that was my dream. Like...
And even when you mentioned it on the first episode, the way that you had to get to that point...
Yeah. Because I'm a imaginative bitch, but holy shit, like, it is really sad. Like, it is sad to think about, like, the only way I could, like, insert myself into the Lord of the Rings universe with my little game workshop character was by... I had contracted some infectious dark magic disease, and that turned my skin dark, and yeah.
Whereas, like, there's other games, there's other media where they are just there, and it's fine.
Yeah,
there is no issue with it. But because the original source material didn't explicitly, and I say that,
but wasn't J.R.R. Tolkien was a racist though? Correct. I'm pretty sure that has been, that is out there.
I've heard little bits of it. I've not looked into it
because we could still like Lord of the Rings. Look, Gene Roddenberry made Star Trek, and come on, that man was a sexist. All right, and he was a bit too touchy feely with people. So like you know, I say the same about J.K. Rowling. Like once she's dead, it will be a whole lot easier to be a Harry Potter fan because it is a whole lot easier being a Star Trek fan. Gene Roddenberry.
Oh, the fans go.
I'm gonna get cancelled. No, it's not that death isn't sad and all of those things, but oh god, it's hard when, like, for instance, like I can't not say I'm not a Harry Potter fan because I am a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah.
However, it kills me because I'm non-binary.
Yeah.
I have so many trans friends. Like, you know, that I am surrounded by queerness on a daily basis. I live above a queer fucking venue. Like, you know, it's difficult reconciling that and being like, I enjoy this media so much, yet the person who created it literally could, like, goes against every, like, if they was to meet me, they would, you know, they would probably hate. William Shatner is the way he is, and he's fucking Captain Kirk.
We'll go into that one in a minute. But I think we'll take a little break first.
Are we up to a break? Thank God, because I need to piss. So don't clickety clack.
We blackety black,
and we'll be right back.
Kapow!
And we're back. So what were we talking about? Representation. Yeah, people do. I guess a lot of people don't. It seems, or at least on the internet, whenever anything's announced, people don't realize like how much like represent. You know, I guess it isn't really something you can explain because like
if you explain
it,
and if you haven't had the experience of, oh well, I can't do that because XYZ. Like when people started kicking off about the amount of queer characters that are showing up in TV and movies and games and stuff. The games one really annoys me because games have been way more accepting in terms of the representation. Oh Jesus!
But I guess it's more the gaming community can be quite
incel.
Yeah.
But especially like seeing more queer characters in media, it's because people want to see themselves. So it's like you're now having queer games designers, queer movie makers, queer show tellers that want to see them when they couldn't see themselves before. It's now Asian story makers, black story makers, indigenous story makers that are now putting themselves at the forefront of stories to be like, actually, we can do this too.
Like, did you see the new Predator film? Have you seen it?
No.
Prey? Oh, have you seen it?
Oh yeah,
Oh, Mel.
it's so good.
It was last year, wasn't it? It came out. For me, it was one of the top films of last year. Actually, for me, probably the best film I saw last year. It was so good, and it's like indigenous Native American cast. Like,
Okay.
it's so it's so good. Oh, it's so good. I won't say nothing because I don't want to spoil nothing, but
Okay.
it is
fantastic.
so fucking good. It's been a long time since a franchise's best film is its most recent one. It's been a long time since a franchise has done that.
I'm trying to think of some. No, can't. No, it's not going to come to me.
Well, okay, I'll give you a franchise, but then it fucked it up, like, straight away. The X-Men franchise, when Days of Future Past came out, at the time, that was the best X-Men film, by far. But then they just decided not to go along with any of that bullshit. Like, any of the time fixing. Girl, what film? If you tell me Apocalypse or Dark Phoenix is...
First of all, I've not even watched Dark Phoenix because
I did for
they
giggles
fuck up my... No. That... I couldn't see the saga be butchered again. I'm sorry, it was bad enough the first time.
I got very high one in the evening. I was like, you know what, for shits and giggles, I'll watch it. Why not? Like, it was shit. It's so shit.
Oh, you
like,
surprised?
I was not surprised at all. I went in knowing it was good. I had my snacks ready to go.
Like, the fact that Miss Barely Axe has been less blue in each adaptation. Just because...
Yeah.
And
But yeah, like, I
have a question about representation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I am part of another podcast. Sorry.
I honestly thought... Sorry, no, carry on.
And what?
I thought you were going to say... So I'm part of another community. White boys. That's what I thought.
No.
Because the way he was like, I want to ask a question about representation. So I'm part of another podcast. Sorry, go on.
So I'm part of another podcast, and it's a writing podcast, and there are 4 of us. Mm-hmm. We are writing a story together, and we've each written a character. Awesome. The first 3 guys went first and wrote their characters. Now because I don't think I've ever been on the camera, I'm a white man. Mm-hmm. The other 3...
Wait, you're white?
I know.
I can't see him from this far away. I had no idea. It's
the glasses. So they're all also white men. Mm-hmm. Their characters, while they didn't specify that their characters are white, they're all male. And
they're white.
Yeah, I can presume so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was writing my character, I looked at this and I thought, I don't want to write another white man. So I wrote a woman. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't specify what skin color she has, but it's, just assume it's white. Because,
Yeah.
And I guess this leads to my question. Is... What do you feel about that?
About what part?
About the fact that I, a man, chose to write a character, a woman, not only because I thought the character would be more interesting, but because I wanted to add some diversity.
Yeah, I think it's valid to notice that something you're working on is lacking in diversity and to... I think... You go first, I need to marinate.
There's 2 parts to that. Because what you're seeing a lot of now as well, so in tandem with people actually genuinely making stories that are more inclusive and more respectful of other people's cultures and all that kind of stuff, you are just getting some things where it's just like, insert female lead here, they don't really do much, they still have to rely on XYZ, or insert black character here because we need to fill a quota. That is one side of the story. The other side is you saw kind of what happened with the others and then wanted to be like, well, no, I don't want to go down that same route because you've seen that already. Like Jordan Peele, who done Nope, Get Out and all those films, he's like, we've seen these stories, so I'm writing it from what I wanted to see growing up.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. Is
that's why all the characters that are in the films and leading are either of colour or not stereotypes of what you expect them to be.
Because I think what you were saying about like inserting into the story, it's like you can't just insert a black person or a woman or a trans person and not expect that to affect the story, especially, I don't know what you lot's story is about, but especially if it's something based in our time or anything previously, like, you're gonna have to, so, like, it's worth, like, doing
research.
You know, like, research, yeah, because like, if you're not a woman, then, like, you should either be maybe having a conversation with, like, or just researching in other female authors talking about their female characters and stuff like that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, follow,
because it's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
Like, I know we dress as such, but we can't speak for the experiences of women. I mean, we've had instances where it comes close, like being touched without consent and being
for sure,
like catcalled or followed on the street and stuff. So we kind of get to, and I say it cautiously, but we kind of get to dabble into that.
Yeah, or we like see that
side of it.
Yeah,
but it's like that. Obviously, that's not the full picture. There's other things that come with it as well, and it's like you have a completely different experience on the way you grow up, and especially like now. So like we've got a whole generation of people that are growing up where they've had more queer representation, more black representation, more Asian, more indigenous,
less gender ideals forced on them. Like,
they're now growing up seeing themselves in more things, whereas we're still like, oh my god, something has us in it. Oh my god,
because that's the thing. It's kind of surprising that like writers and that don't take that approach a lot of the time, like doing and obviously we can tell when we like watch or read something or play something in media where we're like, oh, they did not, they just went, oh, black person, woman, or whatever. Like, no, forgot the point I was gonna make.
Well, it's like the there's a test that a lot of people started doing.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, does this film meet the criteria of?
I just opened that on my research device. The Bechdel test.
Yes, where a woman has a conversation with another woman without having to talk about a man or having anything revolve around another male character, which not a lot of films actually pass.
No.
And it's quite scary when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, they always have to revolve around any female character, no matter how... Like, this is my thing with... Like we touched on in the female representation in media. Like, the strongest characters in Bleach, most of the female characters.
Yeah.
And yet, they get knocked out. So, Jean Grey.
Oh, yeah.
Jean Grey. Just constantly on the floor.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason. I can't...
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Like, no, there's no reason to write her like that. She is literally an Omega level mutant. Yeah. Stop it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But it's the same thing with, like, when people try and write black characters without actually knowing what goes into the black experience.
Yeah.
And depending on what era you're writing as well, that will have a massive effect on it. So if you write it without all the messed up stuff that's actually gone on in the world, you could probably kind of get away with that not having a part in it. Yeah,
like if it's set in the future or in some fantasy world or something where it's not this dimension, this reality, this Earth 316 or whatever it is in
616.
That's it. Oh no, I'm thinking of Rick and Morty. It's like,
oh yeah,
something, yeah.
But all these things growing up, especially because of the time period we're in as well, will affect us differently. And the same with any generation before, it will affect them differently as well. So you would have to do the research in terms of, okay, what would someone be going through at this point in time? So, for instance, if they were an Asian character and the story is set late 70s, early 80s, you've got a lot of things that could be an issue for them in terms of the American reaction to Japan, Vietnam, all that kind of stuff come into play. You've got just general people that were in Asia deciding to move out of Asia.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, we want to.
Yeah,
do
I just think if it's something that you haven't experienced personally, then like a little bit of research can go a long way into just be like, you know, if you're, as you were saying, like just going on your little like Asian example, like if let's say your character was an Asian woman and she immigrated from like Hong Kong with her 2 kids, you have not lived that, you don't know what kind of emotional that you can imagine to a point, but like would it hurt you to find like a vlog on like somewhere, do you know what I mean, or a book or another book or something that
so I guess it's okay if, because inclusion is great, it's an amazing thing, and I suppose it's okay if you are not writing that character as a plot point specifically, if that character, if that is not their whole character, you know, they've got to have their own motivations, their own personalities.
Yeah, definitely.
And you've got to do your research and make sure that, you know, it's correct, it's appropriate.
And trying to avoid stereotypes. That's one of the harder ones to do. So, like, there was a graphic that went round a little while ago about black characters, specifically in media. So, yeah, and that came up. Characters, the one that's being talked about a lot at the moment, because it's usually used by Disney, is the transmutation of black characters.
Right.
So even if they're a lead,
I saw this. Yeah, they're an animal or something.
Yeah, or not actually
or
being
a little
portrayed.
blue blood like in Soul.
Yeah. There were arguments against that one, but he's still not.
I mean, I guess he is, and all the other humans in that situation are also blue blobs. So, like, fuck, now that laser got me for a second. But yeah, 100%. Like, Princess and the Frog is a great example because like she is literally a frog.
But the flip side of that as well is she was like the first black Disney princess, but then she was also aspirational, shown. Like, she went against a lot of tropes, and then they just went in with the biggest one and then stuck to it. And then, obviously, the other trope of needing a man.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we can write better female characters.
Yeah. And they have a great song. 'Cause I'm almost there. Love that song.
The soundtrack is good.
Yeah.
But, like, stemming off from that before we wrap up for this little section.
That was very subtle.
Like Brave is a brilliant one because Merida doesn't need a male companion.
No.
She literally just goes and does stuff on her own. The whole point of her is, no, I'm being different. I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet. Like, she has family, but that's a bit different. But for the most part, she finds her way on her own. Like, loads of people like are a bit divisive on Encanto, but
I've still not seen it. I can't stand the music, I gotta say. You know, I'm not a musical person, and I just like the amount of times I've walked through Broadway and I've heard the songs from musical. I'm like, you know, it's not for me. We don't talk about Bruno. Yeah, let's not. Let's not.
No, but that is nice because it's a madrigal.
I just don't like musicals where it's like, we are fucking singing about every. Like, I like when a song in a musical, like it's to narrate an important emotional moment, like, so whatever that emotion is, or whatever, like, it needs to, like, I just can't stand just like walking and talk, like, I don't know if you know what I mean, like walking and talking musical, where it's like, we're going down the stairs to go start the party, it's like, bitch, you could have just walked down the stairs and got, like, it slows the story down. It kind of does work in Encanto, not for all of it, but for some of it. We shall see, because everyone told me I would like Frozen and Moana, and they were too much for me. Moana was okay, but
Moana's actually a very good example of again. She does kind of fall back to relying on a man partially, although he's portrayed as a deity, but still. But like, you're having another thing that's also being used as a trope as well. That kids are always apologetic to their parents automatically.
Yeah.
But we'll touch on that in a bit.
Okay.
So, do you want to start this one off?
Don't clickety clack.
We blackety black.
And we'll be right back.
Boom.
And we're black.
I tried to.
I don't know what we was talking about. We did just... So that was an actual break. We actually did walk away. And I've forgotten what the hell we were talking about.
Don't shatter the illusion that they're not all breaks.
Well, do they care?
I know.
Do they care? I mean, for them. I mean, for us. Wait, hold up. Rewind. When this episode comes out, this happened for us ages ago. They didn't give a fuck. In fact, they would just... Yeah. Shut up.
Right, so last bit of representation in media. Obviously, we've touched on the fact that us being black heavily affects us and what we see of black characters. Like, I mean, going from growing up and seeing like one or two side characters to actually having mainstay characters.
Oh, 100%. And like, I would say probably all of my favourite characters are either like POC or women. Like all of my favourite characters. Like if I think my favourite characters in Star Trek, my favourite characters in Star Wars, favourite character in Star Wars, like, yeah, like even some of my favourite franchises like headed by women, like Alien.
Yeah.
Like Terminator. Oh, Sarah Connor. I love Sarah Connor so much.
But that was my thing in music as well. Because like it was listening to the perspective of women and seeing how different it was.
Yeah.
Because obviously growing up, most of the music was R&B, hip-hop, rap. And it was just like cars, money, bitches, drugs.
But not the good drugs.
And it's just like, okay, but do we have anything else? And then, yes, I know there are artists that don't prescribe to that, like Common and people, well, again, more the West Coast kind of stuff. But it was interesting to have women coming from a completely different perspective and having way more substance.
Yeah.
And like even like women that occupied the same space as like rap. So you had like Lil' Kim, Missy Elliott. There was just more substance in it.
Yeah.
Compared to what the guys were doing, and that's what I gravitated towards.
Well, for me, I've just always felt more familiar around women. Like, I'm not a woman, and I'm not saying that I like... I think I did maybe like gain more of like the female experience growing up than like other people in life. Because I was raised by my mum. Like, you know, my dad didn't really have much to do, well, not much positive to do with my growing up. And then like, you know, and then around my mum, I was like raised by women. So it's just like, you know, living with my partner and my last landlord was the first time me living with men. And living here was the first time I'd ever lived with just straight men. Ever. Like I'd always lived with women. Like it was actually no, when I first moved in here, Ali identifies as non-binary. Yeah. So there was another non-binary person here. But yeah, like, I don't know what point I was making again. I wonder if you can guess what I did on the break. But, just being around females is like, female energy is just kind of like more familiar for me. So like I've always just gravitated to those female characters, or just kind of like characters that are, even just going beyond gender and race, I always kind of like relate to characters that are like on the edge. Not on the edge like, you know, I'm on the edge. No, like that are like, for instance, if I go to Star Wars, like Ahsoka is like, she does not have that typical hero story. Like she's part of the good guys, then she like leaves the good guys, or like the perceived good guys. You know, and she has a very interesting, but I just gravitate towards her as a character, I guess maybe because like I've moved around a lot growing up and stuff, so like I've often moved into places and I've always been like and even to relate back to our last episode into why I relate, or why my drag character is this like alien, because like I've always felt like an alien. Like most situations I've come into, even in the drag world, like I'm a bit of an alien. So it's just like I just heavily relate to, I guess, marginalized characters. God, I don't mean to sound like a victim. I'm not saying like, oh my god, because like
but again, it all just stems from the fact that growing up, it was a case of you had what Buffy, Charmed, Sabrina, Dark Angel, and I'm now Cleopatra 2525.
What's her name? Warrior Princess?
Xena.
Yep.
And that was pretty much all you could count on for female leads and just pure kicking ass.
Yeah.
But even then, it was like there was still a few tropes that they kept in because no one was trying to not write those things in.
Yeah. Hadn't quite broken the ceiling yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like you've got films and TV shows where the women aren't just kicking ass, they're doing it on their own. They are front and center, and they're not having to rely on those tropes. And I'm loving seeing that in media now. Like,
I want to see that with some queer characters as well, because I'm very excited to see. Like, I hope it isn't just like a Megan Thee Stallion thing, like in She-Hulk. But I can't wait to see what they're gonna make Shea Coulee do in the MCU. Like, we all have suspicions, but like,
no, I have a feeling she's definitely going to be Nightshade.
What, the character from X-Men?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I hope so, or at least a character that like has some like, you know. Because, like, as much as there is a lot of queer representation, a lot of the time, like, we are comic reliefs.
Yeah.
Different to how we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we're the ones telling the jokes or whatever.
Yeah.
We usually are, like, you know.
But we're not the butt of the joke.
And even though I'm about to say a show that I actually think has great representation, and I'm not criticizing it at all, but, like, sex education, like, you know how, like, what's his name? You wash your hands, you dirty pig. What is his name?
I've completely forgotten.
Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the funniest character by far.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and that tends to be, like, the case when, like, there's, like, a group of characters in a TV show or... I don't know, I was, like, doing this, like, group is in quotations. But, yeah, usually, like, the queer person is, like, just, like, the really funny character or whatever. Like, or in... Oh, no. Let's not Get Out I'm thinking of. Oh, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it'd be good to see some more like... Well, I guess I have got it in Star Trek Discovery. We have like our little queer family.
Yeah.
I love that in Discovery. That is like I had some...
so adorable.
Yeah.
And the amount that kicked off online was ridiculous.
Oh, but I loved it. I was like, go on, get annoyed over nothing, because these people going, oh, they're ruining Star Trek. Bitch, Star Trek has always been this.
Exactly.
Like, it's always been this. It's always been one of the first ones to do a lot of this shit. So don't be surprised.
And my favourite one so far was in Discovery again. The new villain character that they brought in didn't mention the...
Oh, he was gay.
No.
Who are you talking about? The guy who was the scientist guy. Because he was gay.
No, but yes.
Yeah. Because I lived for that.
But the other...
Who are you talking about?
The other villain that they brought in.
In the newest season?
Oh, no, this was not Discovery. It was Strange New Worlds. The trans or non-binary character that they brought in. That was...
Who was a villain?
Yeah.
In Strange New Worlds. What episode are you talking about?
Oh.
No, I've seen the whole season. I just can't remember off the top. God, there's been a lot this year.
The one who starts, like, hitting on Spock, getting Spock to do all the typical Vulcan things, and then it turns out something related to Vulcans because she backstabs and...
Oh, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
The approach they took with that character, where it was like, we're not going to announce that this character...
Yeah.
But
the
obviously,
problem is, Strange New
viewers,
Worlds, for those who don't know, and I know for those who know me, are like, oh, Alex don't know the Star Trek. Bitch, it came out last year. I've not watched it more than I've only watched the season once. Every other fucking Star Trek thing that has existed, I've watched multiple times, including Lower Decks. That's probably why I've
also,
rewatched.
we've got Picard soon.
I know, but okay, I was not happy with season 2, so I am a little bit like going in like I'm excited because the trailer looks amazing. Obviously, the Next Generation cast coming back.
Yep.
there are some strong hints that there's a lot of Deep Space Nine stuff being brought into this season as well. So I'm obviously like, as a Deep Space Nine, like not even stan or fan, like the fan, like bitch, that is my Star Trek. I'm very excited, but at the same time, I'm going in like,
okay,
because yeah, season 2, but Star Trek in general has been winning, so like hopefully, yeah. But Picard has not been my favorite of the new shows.
I liked what they did with season 2 because it was.
I liked bits and pieces of it, but I felt like half of it was like lazy, and then a lot of the Borg stuff, I think they're gonna have to do a little bit more to explain.
Yes,
because where that went was very. Like, how does this fit into canon? Like, what? Like, they do explain it, but I feel like they need to explain a lot more, and they also because they kind of I'm gonna get into Star Trek like spoilers, like recent spoilers, and I don't want to, just in case, because I know that there are people that watch our podcast who do watch Star Trek, so I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, anyway.
But where are we going? So, male representation in terms of black POC characters as well. Still yet to see it properly get to that point. I mean, we've had a bit of it in, like, as you mentioned before, Sex Education.
Yeah. That show is so good, like, in so many levels.
Right.
But, like, its representation is, like, I think unchallenged at the moment.
Oh yeah,
like it really. We didn't even. I think the only other show, and it's funny because they're both Netflix shows. The only other show that I think has showed, and obviously it's in a women's prison, so I know it's like mostly women, but is Orange Is the New Black. Like that show had so much diversity, and I think Sex Education takes it a step further. But obviously Orange Is the New Black is kind of like. But even the few male characters they did have, there was a lot of diversity within them as well. So like, yeah. Do you know it's a show? I never watched the last season of that. I was an avid
to a
watcher.
point and I was like, okay, I can't anymore. This is where I drop off. Same with like The Walking Dead. I got to a point.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, okay.
Oh yeah.
I've seen enough.
I have been tempted to go back and revisit that show because the first 7 seasons are just so good. Like maybe not 7, maybe 6.
I dropped off just after Negan.
Same.
Literally.
Same. Yeah, literally same.
After.
Yeah. I saw Glenn died, and then that's. Oh, I think I watched a little bit after he died, but it was all the Rick crap. Another day. We will definitely have a zombie episode.
Coral.
I would just like no, don't, because I will rant. And we are reaching the end, and it's actually quite late. So we need to get on this bloody train. It's fucking cold. It's the second? No. It's the 3rd today or the 2nd?
2nd.
It's the 2nd today. 2nd of January today. So if whatever day this comes out on, y'all can remember it was a cold fucking day. Oh God, we need to go because I'm chatting shit. I'm chatting shit.
But no, I think what we can take from it is we're in a better place with media now in terms of representation as a whole. Unfortunately, there are people that are still clinging on to the old ways of, we don't want to see any of that shit. But unfortunately, it's not going that way because the amount of people that are now in the industry that are now writing to see themselves and represent themselves as well as other people have not only doubled but quadrupled and possibly more than that. So there's going to be way more stories. But before you know it, we're going to get to a point where it won't even have to be announced that there's new queer characters or black leads in fantasy films and games.
Disney,
and
you can cast me as a queer Sith. I would love that. That would literally be like a perfect role for me. So and I know y'all are working on some old Republic shit for the next few years. So hopefully shit will line up. You can cast me for that. All right, you'll be doing yourself a favor. All right? I'm thinking Emmy
Already knows the law.
Yeah. Oh, bitch. Could you imagine, like, if I was casting a Star Wars show and, like, getting the script? Like, because I know a lot of actors, they'd be like...
See, you need to make an edit here.
No, not even that. It's the fact that, like, I would understand, like, all the, like, little nuances. I remember watching... Okay, this is my last point before I start chatting more shit. But the guy, I forget his second name, Will. He plays Starkiller and Anakin. He plays loads of animated people, but, like, he plays... do you know who I'm talking about? Sam. Yeah, do the clickety-clack. Oh my god, the first clickety-clack of the year. Sam White or Wick Wilkes Sutton W. Whitwer, yeah. So he was talking about playing Starkiller, and he's like a Star Wars fan, like I'm a Star Wars fan. And he was saying, like, I was reading the script about when he does his Force meditation. And then, when I was doing the voice over for it, and I was making all these like tense noises and stuff, and the director stopped and went, why he's meditating, like, why are you sounding so angry? And he was like, he's a Sith who has never been taught to meditate. Like, this meditation, he's trying to find peace, and so I feel like he would be failing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh bitch, that's some me, because, and I will always bring this up on the podcast, and I'll always bring it up because Will's right here and he knows this shit is true. But from the first moment where Baby Yoda appeared, I say Baby Yoda for you people, his name's Grogu. But when Baby Yoda appeared in fucking Mandalorian season 1, episode 1, I went, Ahsoka's gonna be in this show. When Ahsoka gonna be in this show, Bo-Katan, you go find Bo-Katan. She gonna lead into da-da-da-da. And Will, what happened? That happened, didn't it?
Yeah. It happened.
They all hated I bet because they're like, this motherfucker's, you can't let this motherfucker be right. Like, you can't, because we'll never hear the end of it. And there and behold, 2 years later, here I still am going on about it.
Well, I think we'll leave that on your... Leave the podcast on a win.
Yeah. Just call me Professor Trelawney.
Well, see you later, Earth Team.
Yes, peace out and be safe. Happy New Year. And actually, by the time this comes out, Happy Chinese New Year. When is that? February something?
Yeah, it's usually like, well, depending.
Yeah, is it a different day each year?
Yeah, I haven't checked it for this year because it's lunar based rather than...
Right.
So we'll have to check.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Toodaloo.
Yeah. Fuck off.